Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks and connecting them with the others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Got a little story for you. Hugh Liddle with Red Cap Sales helps roofers and contractors get their sales right by fixing their conversations and systems. Hugh has been in the sales game for over 50 years, and he drops some pure gold sales tips in this episode. So be sure to listen up as Hugh shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, roofers, thank you so much for joining us on the Roofer Growth Hack podcast. We have got a special guest here today. We have Hugh Liddle that is here and is going to help us with some sales. How are you doing, Hugh? Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Really glad to be here and just rocking and rolling today. Doing well.
Awesome. All right, let's start it out with our first question here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey? Where did it start? Where are you now?
Well, when I got out of the Air Force in 1970, the first job I took was sales related, and I've been in sales ever since. So I have just a little bit of experience behind me. And to supplement my income at one point in time, I actually loaded roofs for Pacific Supply in Modesto, California.
All right.
And I was in the best shape of my life, carrying those 100-pound bundles of shakes up roofs. That was really fun.
Right.
So I didn't stay there for a really long time, though. And so mostly my career has been sales oriented. And I did work for a couple of different roofing companies at the same time, because there was one company that restored shake roofs. There was another one that did comp and shake, and there was another one that just did tile. And so I had everything in my portfolio that I needed to give people what they needed. And I've sold a lot of different things for a lot of different companies. And I finally decided in 2008 that it was time to start teaching other people to learn more quickly what it took me years and years and years to learn about sales. And when I was working for the roofing company, I had this incredible sales manager by the name of George Giraldus. In fact, when I wrote a book about sales, I dedicated the book to him because I learned so much about selling from him, even though I'd been in sales for years. One of the things about selling is that you never get too old or know too much to not be able to learn something else about it. Absolutely. And so that's kind of been my journey.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your coaching program then and really kind of your system for sales?
Well, my selling is maybe a little bit different because it is based on actual in the field experience in sales and sales management, rather than just something that I learned in college or some kind of a system that I decided to take and present to people. And really, the sales process is extremely important, and it doesn't make any difference what you're selling. Mm-hmm. The process is pretty much the same, and it involves building rapport. It involves a verbal agreement, and that's something that's a little bit different. Asking really good open-ended questions is just absolutely vital. Making value statements that are you-oriented rather than us, we, our, me, my, I. And asking for the sale, answering objections. So no matter what you sell, all of those things are really involved.
Love that. So build rapport. Right. And these are things that are, we've all heard these things, right? Well, you've got to build rapport who you're talking with, right? Verbal agreement, open-ended questions, asking for the sale. What were the other ones?
Answering objections.
Answering objections. Yeah. So let's dig in further. Those sound great, right? But what would you say is the most critical piece that most people fail?
I think that the skill that's most important for salespeople to develop is the skill of listening, because everybody thinks that a good salesman's got to be a good talker. And that's just not true. The good salespeople are the people who ask good questions and listen very carefully to the answers. Because, and this kind of goes into the philosophy of selling. It's not your job as a salesperson to get other people to do what you want them to do, or what you think they should do, or what you even know they should do. It's your job to help them do what they want to do. Okay. So selling is really more about asking than it is telling, because if you ask good open-ended questions and you find out that what people want and it's something that you can provide for them, and let them know that they can have what they want, you're almost at the point of a positive buying decision if they have enough money to do what you do. And of course, roofing is a whole lot more expensive now than it was back in the day when I was selling it. So hats off to salespeople who are successful in selling roofing. It's a really good thing. And I think the other factor is that people don't buy what they need. People buy what they want. If you could come down and take a tour through my garage and my storage unit, you would see that my wife and I have bought an awful lot of stuff that we just didn't need. We wanted it at the time, and we got it into the house and decided that it really wasn't that great after all. And so it ended up in a box someplace, or we sold it to somebody else who wanted it. So people always buy what they want, and they always buy based on emotion. It's never logic. And so you can be just as logical as you want to be and tell people all about all of the reasons why they should buy roofing from you and the type of roofing that you think that they should have and all of those kinds of things. And it doesn't make one bit of difference in their sales decision. They're going to buy based on how they emotionally feel about what's going on. Mm-hmm. And that's why building rapport is so important, because they have to know you, like you, and trust you before they'll do business with you. And unfortunately, roofing, like some of the other service-oriented businesses, in-home businesses, have bad reputations because there are some people that have just totally screwed up the industry in the days gone by. It's the same way with sales. People have a tendency to look down on sales and feel like, you can't trust a salesperson. Oh my gosh, they're lying to you all the time. And that's not true. There are a lot of really good salespeople who have good attitudes. So it's really important to go into a sales conversation with a proper mindset. And I think mindset is probably even more important than skill set when it comes to selling.
How so?
First of all, if you're concentrating on, or if you're focused on anything else other than what the person in front of you wants, your focus is in the wrong place. So if you go into a sales conversation and your focus is on, oh my God, I got to make some money because, it hasn't been very good. And the last couple of people said no. And, I got to make this sale. I got to get them to do this. People feel that energy and they feel it as pressure, and they won't buy. And then you're in a downward spiral. If you're thinking about the disagreement that you had with your significant other before you walked out the door in the morning, and I can't believe she said that. And I'm really upset about that. If you're thinking about that instead of thinking about the person with whom you're talking and what their situation is and what they need and what they want, your focus is in the wrong place. And even if you're thinking about what you're going to do after work or do this weekend, people feel that. There's an energy that passes between a salesperson and a prospect. And I mean, it's like, that's true of any conversation that you have, even the one that we're having right now. There's an energy that's passing between us. And if I was answering all my questions by saying, well, sales is a really important thing and you got to do it, or if you were just sitting there without a smile on your face, it would be a totally different conversation than the one that we're having.
Right.
So there are so many moving parts in selling. And it's one of the reasons why, a little plug for myself, I guess, it's why it's so important to have a sales coach that can really help you do what you do, because you've got to know what to say. You got to know how to say it. You have to be very careful of your body language. You got to be very careful of your facial expression. If somebody brings up an objection, and maybe you've heard, oh, that's really expensive, I don't think I can afford that, a gazillion times, all you have to do is go, and you're done.
And it's done. Yeah.
You don't have to say a word. You just have to roll your eyes, or you have to make a little sound. You have to look like, oh, you're really stupid. You just have to think that. And, they pick up on that. You can actually be trying to help somebody get what they need and feel like, oh, I gotta tell them this and I gotta get them to do this. And your reason for doing that is that you want to help. And they feel it as pressure if you're not really, really careful. And if you don't have your mind in the right place, that I really want to help these people. Yeah. And so you have to pay attention to what's going on with you, and you have to watch for all of those things with your buyer. What are they saying, and how are they saying it, and what's going on with their facial expression and their body language? If you've got somebody that's doing this, until you get their arms uncrossed and the expression off their face, there's no sale there.
Right.
So you've got to be aware of what's going on with them at the same time. So a lot of moving parts in selling. So if you don't have your head in the right space, man, that really compounds the challenges that you have, really knowing what's going on.
So I want to dig into that a little bit here. So and we all hear this, mindset is everything, kind of a thing, right? So how do you, if you feel like you're getting down the wrong path there before any kind of a sales call, before any kind of anything like that, do you have a trick, a hack, right, on getting out of that?
I just try to do it with self-talk.
Okay.
I just take a few minutes to sit down and be quiet before I have a sales conversation with somebody. And I just say to myself, this is going to be so much fun. We're going to have a great conversation, and I'm going to get to know these people, and I'm going to try to help them do whatever they want to do. And if they want to start coaching with me, I'm going to try to help them do that. If they don't want to start coaching with me, I'm going to try to very kindly, very nicely release them and help them not coach with me. And if they just have concerns and objections, I'm going to try to help them find a way past whatever the obstacle is that they're seeing in their way to having what they want. And I'm just going to relax and have fun. That's how I try to get my mindset in the right place, so that I'm focusing on them and helping them rather than anything else that's going on in my life at that point in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. And I want to kind of dig into, you mentioned earlier that open-ended questions, you've got to have good open-ended questions. Can you give us some examples of some good open-ended questions that you can maybe lead with?
I think the very first question that I would ask is, what prompted you to call a roofer at this point in the game? What's going on? That's a good open-ended question. Let them tell you. I don't know how many roofing companies are still doing free evaluations of roofs.
I think all of them.
When I worked with companies, that was exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. And so rather than just going in and saying, okay, let me tell you what's going on with your roof, man, you've got leaks, you've got problems, you've got all this stuff going on. Hey, first question I have for you is, what made you decide to do the evaluation? What was going on with your roof that made you think that might be a good idea? Well, it's just the age. I've had this roof for, however long. And then just any question that you ask it open-ended. Instead of, is this roof about 25 years old now? How old's the roof?
Yeah.
Well, how long have you owned the house? What kinds of repairs have been done to it so far? I'm here in Florida, so it's always, how many shingles did you lose in the last hurricane?
Yeah.
So the reason for asking open-ended questions, there's two reasons. First of all, you really don't know anything at all about the people that you're having the conversation with, and they know everything about themselves. And so if you ask open-ended questions, you're going to get way more information from people. Okay. It's super easy for people to say yes or no. It's just so easy. If you ask a closed-ended question, that's the only two answers you can get, yes or no. And it doesn't really tell you anything. If you ask an open-ended question, people have to talk to you, and they have to tell you what's going on. And the other thing about open-ended questions is that people have to really think about the answer. I see so many people in their advertising that they do on social media, or the advertising that they do when they send out emails to people, where they ask a question that's open-ended. They ask something like, do you ever wonder if your roof is going to leak when the next storm comes along? No, that's really easy. If you ask that question, like, how probable is it that your roof could leak in the next storm? I got to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, I've had this roof for a long time. There's several of my neighbors who had theirs replaced, and their houses got built at the same time. It might be getting time to do that. And when people think about that, and in a sales conversation, when you ask an open-ended question, if they have to stop and think about the answer, they're feeding that information into their subconscious mind, and that's being transferred to their limbic brain where decisions are made. And that's the emotional center of the brain where every buying decision is made. And they actually are selling themselves on the reasons why they should have their roof replaced and why they should do that with you, because you're so smart that you asked them a really good question that made them think. So you obviously know what you're doing. And it's a very psychological thing that could be used to manipulate people. And I don't want salespeople to ever manipulate anybody. Try to help them do what they want to do. When you ask them questions, though, and those questions are open-ended, they're going to tell themselves why they should replace their roof.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So how important is follow-up, right? We've all heard the money's in the follow-up. What does that actually mean? And what does that mean to you?
To me, that means stay top of mind. Because my philosophy of sales is that it's not your job to get somebody to do what you want them to do. And you're not trying to tell them that they should do it. Don't should on people. It's not nice to do that. So don't ever do that. The conversation, the sales conversation continues until somebody says no. That might be you. Your prospect says, well, I know that you usually do this for $30,000. Could you give me a break? Could you do it for like 15? No.
That goes back to that question, right? Yes or no question there.
That's right. That's right. And you could say no, or your prospect could say, I'm not doing that. I don't want to. If you hear I'm not gonna or I don't want to, that's the end of the conversation. And you don't try to push people into doing or pull them into doing. You lead them to a place where they're ready to make a decision. And it doesn't make any difference whether that decision is yes or no. That's not your decision. It's their decision. And it's whatever decision they make, it's okay. In fact, I would much rather hear, no, I don't want to spend that much and I don't want to do this, so I'm not gonna. I would rather hear that than, well, let me think about it and talk it over with my wife and we'll call you.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know, and it probably means no anyway, but
right.
You have no idea, what's going on with that. So I would much rather hear no. So when that person says, no, I don't want to do this, though, that's not the end of the relationship. That's just the beginning of it. And it's really interesting that, you talk with people and they're not ready to make a positive buying decision. And they tell you, no, I don't think I want to do this right now. It's really expensive. It's more than I thought it was going to be. And, I just don't see how I can do it. And I just don't want to. They say that they don't want to. And there are so many companies that tell their salespeople, well, if they say no, you just forget about them and go out and find somebody else.
Yeah.
And if you stay top of mind, and all of the big corporations stay top of mind,
oh yeah,
they do it on a worldwide basis. You see the Golden Arches, what company is that? Or you think about hamburgers. If you play word association and you say hamburger, almost everybody says McDonald's.
Yes.
They don't even have the best hamburgers. They don't even have the best food in the world. Everybody equates that, though, hamburgers and McDonald's. That's because they've stayed top of mind. Ketchup, it's Heinz. Baby food, it's Gerber's. So, they've done a great job of staying top of mind. Well, you're a local company, so you're not worldwide. You want to stay in your community. You want to stay top of mind so that whenever anybody thinks about roofing, they think about your company. And the way to do that long term is everybody that you talk to, keep them in your email rotation unless they say no and unsubscribe. On special days, holidays, send them an email. Send them an email about the newest kind of roofing material. Send them an email about a sale you're having. If you know what their birthday is, and that's probably one of the questions you should ask for your clients and people who aren't your clients, send them a birthday greeting. Send them something on. The best thing I ever did, Chris, in terms of sending out something just stay top of mind to my clients and all of my non-clients, everybody on my list. I sent a Bastille Day card.
Bastille Day.
Yeah, happy Bastille Day. And it was just a little blurb about what Bastille Day was.
Yeah.
And I got back more emails from that email that I sent out telling me, hey, thanks. I didn't know what Bastille Day was till I got your card. And
Oh,
my favorite response, this one guy says, thanks for your email. Around here, heads will roll.
oh,
so,
oh,
you don't have to be serious in your
yeah.
in the things that you're reaching out. In fact, with roofing, there are probably some things that you can do marketing wise to be funny and to be memorable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one of those at this point in time. Maybe you can think of some. My favorite billboard of that kind is down on the Atlantic coast here in Florida.
Okay.
It's an air conditioning company. Their billboard just says, your wife is hot. You better call.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Maybe if your roof takes a leak, call me, or whatever. So you never know when somebody says no and you stay top of mind. 6 months later, all of a sudden, those couple of shingles that they noticed that have blown off have turned into a leak and water's running down their living room wall. And all of a sudden they're motivated and they don't care how much it's going to take to do that. And if you have stayed top of mind, they will call you back. So no doesn't mean never. It just means not right now in a lot of cases. And sometimes if you've done a good job of selling and you've built good rapport, and you've stayed top of mind, and that person is never going to buy a roof from you.
Right.
They'll refer other people to you just because you were a nice guy.
Wow. Yeah, that's great, right?
Yeah. So follow-up in that sense is really important. Follow-up where you go, hey, did you decide whether you want to have a roof yet or not?
No.
Don't do that.
No.
That just comes off as sleaze and pressure and, all the reasons why you can't trust a salesperson. So don't do that.
So I got to ask, right? You're sending things out on holidays and birthdays and Bastille Day and, all these things. Is that up to the salesperson, do you think, or is that up to the marketing department?
Well, a marketing department could do it. And really, I think that contact after the sale with people probably should be done by the salesperson, because the salesperson is the one who built the rapport in the first place. Okay. And they know the salesperson and they like the salesperson. This is especially true of customers that you have.
Okay.
They're much more likely to give a referral to the salesperson who got them started in the process in the first place than the marketing department. And it's really a great idea. And a lot of companies don't do this, unfortunately. It's a great idea to reach back out to people on a regular basis to ask them how their roof's doing, what's going on, what can we do to help, that sort of thing. That will get you more referrals than just about anything. I have a story about that. My mom had a real estate guy that sold my parents the last house that they moved into. And she just thought this guy hung the moon, because right on schedule, every 3 months, he called her on the telephone. Mrs. Liddle, how you doing? How you enjoying that rock fireplace? That's my favorite fireplace, I think, in any house I've ever seen. And she would, how are your utilities doing? Well, my husband's a handyman, so the utilities are fine. Do you have any heavy stuff that you want moved? Because I'd be happy to come by and help you do that. No, we're doing just fine. And they talked for a few minutes. I'll tell you what, that was the best marketing he ever did. My mom, if you said anything about buying or selling a piece of real estate, oh, you got to call my real estate guy. He's just the very best. I've got his card right here. I don't have any idea how much money she made for him, but it was a pile, I'm sure, because she referred him all the time. And all he did was make a 5-minute telephone call once every 3 months. Wow. So that kind of follow-up is absolutely priceless.
I love that. I'm writing that down right now. Every 3 months. And that's done in your mind by the salesperson itself, or like a customer service department?
This was the guy who sat with them and sold them the house and did all the paperwork and all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And that was just part of his regular routine with his clients. He called to make sure everything was going okay, and that they were feeling good and that they didn't have anything that they needed his help with. And it just paid him tremendous dividends. When you're able to do that with a bunch of different clients, you almost eliminate the need to do marketing anyplace else. And it saves you a ton of money and time if you don't have to do social media and, the email stuff and just get great referrals all the time and keep them in.
And that's just great customer service right there. I mean, anyways, right? I mean, that's something that makes you stand out, right? More than anybody else out there. There's no roofing companies actually doing that I know of, right? We've assessed over 1,000 roofing companies, marketing and not so much their sales processes, but those things really go hand in hand. So
yeah, they do.
Yeah. All right. So what are some of the common mistakes you see roofing companies make in sales that you haven't already mentioned?
I think I've mentioned most of them. The main thing is don't focus on the money that you're going to make when you have a sales conversation. I have a really good friend who's also a sales coach, lives out in California, great guy. And his favorite saying, or my favorite saying of his, is prospects can smell commission breath 5 miles away. So, see, they already suspect that that's all you care about anyway.
Right.
So if that is all that you care about, people can tell. And again, it's the energy thing that passes. And if they think that you don't care about them, that you just care about making money, they won't buy from you. They'll go buy from somebody down the street who has an inferior product and charges more money for it because they think you're just in it for the money.
Right.
And the money really is just a reward for the service that you provide. Right. So concentrate on providing great service for people. And I think the other mistake that salespeople of all kinds make, and even roofing companies, don't talk about yourself and what you do and how you do it. If I had a dime for every time that I heard a salesperson say, "Oh, and our customer service is really, really great." Really? Well, every roofing company in the world says that their customer service is the very best. Right. So why should I believe you? Talk to people about the results that they can receive. When you have a roof put on by ABC Roofing, what you can expect is a roof that's going to be worry-free for the next 30 years. If there's any challenge that you have with the roof, all it takes is one telephone call. You just make one telephone call to us. Somebody will be out within 12 hours to take care of whatever the situation is. And when you do business with ABC Roofing, what you can expect is that you're not just a name and a number and you're forgotten the minute that your roof is on and the check is in. You're part of the family. You're going to hear from us. Yeah. And if you have any challenges, you got somebody here that really cares about you, and you're using you and your statements rather than us, we, our, I, me, my.
Sure.
Because people really only have one question in their minds when you sit down to have a sales conversation with them. What's in it for me?
Me.
How's it going to make my life better, easier, more pleasant, more profitable? What are you going to do for me? And if your answer to that is, well, we do this and we do that, and we've been in business for 25 years, and we, they don't give a rip about that. They don't care about you. All they care about is the result that they're going to get. So don't make the mistake of talking all about yourself and how you do what you do. See, one other thing that's important. Sales used to be presentation based because there was no internet.
Yeah.
Nobody could look you up and see what you do, how you do it, and see testimonials and see whether anybody said that you're a scam and see pictures of your work and, all of that. You can just about bet that before anybody talks to you, they've looked you up on the internet. Oh, yeah. So you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time telling them how long you've been in business and what you do and how you do it and blah, blah, blah. Just ask them questions about what they want and tell them they can have it. And really, that has been the secret to most successful sales for a long, long time. Don't know whether you've ever heard of Joe Girard. Joe Girard was, according to the book of the Guinness Book of World Records, he was the greatest salesman in the world. And Johnny Carson had him on his show one night. He asked, well, listen, you're the greatest salesman in the world, Joe. Sell me something. Joe says, okay, well, Johnny, what do you want me to sell you? And this was back in the day when they smoked on talk shows and there was an ashtray sitting. Johnny said, well, sell me that ashtray. Joe says, well, if you had one of those, Johnny, what would you do with it? Johnny said, well, I could put my cigarette out in it. Well, yeah. What else could you do with it? Well, I could put my ashes in it, flick my ashes. Well, aside from smoking, what else could you do with it? Well, I guess if I cleaned it up, I could keep my spare change in it, or maybe I could put some potting soil in it and grow a plant. Yeah, there's a lot of really great things that you could do with that. So if you could get one of those, how much do you think you'd be willing to pay for it? And Johnny said, oh, maybe $6. Joe Girard said, okay, I'll let you have it. And of course, Johnny just fell off a chair laughing, and everybody laughed. Really, though, that's how a successful salesperson does it. Ask questions, find out what the person wants, and tell them, okay, you can have it.
Yeah.
You can have what you said you wanted.
Right.
And that's the secret to sales. And one thing that I want to mention is that in selling, scripting is absolutely key.
Okay.
Got to have a good script, and you've got to have it memorized. You've got to practice it and role play it until it's just totally part of your nature. You could do it in your sleep and you don't even have to think about it. And that gives you the opportunity to be able to really listen to what your prospect is saying, because you're not sitting there thinking, oh, what am I going to say next?
Yeah.
Because you already know. So good scripting really is key. And it doesn't sound canned and it doesn't sound scripted when you put the work in to learn it and memorize it and really make it part of you.
Love that. Awesome. Well, this has been so great here. And we're going to take a pause real quick right here to listen to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Okay, we're back. And we're heading into the lightning round. Okay, so the lightning round rules are simple. You have 1 minute or less to answer each one of these questions. You ready?
It's going to be really tough, Chris. I like to talk.
We'll do our best, right? Okay.
You
All
bet.
right, so number 1, what is your favorite personal hack? This can be a book, a podcast, whatever, anything goes.
The Bible.
All right. Love that. Why the Bible?
Because it tells you how to live successfully, and some of the things that'll get you in a lot of trouble and some of the things that'll just really bless your life.
Love that. Absolutely love that. All right. Next question. What is your favorite business hack? This could be a book, podcast, whatever. Again, anything goes here.
There is a book by Tony Robbins that's called Awaken the Giant Within. And Tony's written a lot of stuff. That just happens to be my favorite one. And I've probably been through that book a gazillion times, and I've done all of the exercises in it. It was a life changer for me.
Love that. Side note, one of my first books that was ever given to me, by one of my mentors was a Tony Robbins book, and it was Unlimited Power. And that I was the same way. I listened to it over, and I think I was 18 years old, budding entrepreneur, So anyways, totally different story right there.
Well, I do have a really good book that I wrote too that's called Take the Icky and Scary Out of Sales. And you can still find that on Amazon someplace. And I get about 20 cents every time somebody buys one.
Love that. Okay, so Hugh, next question. What is the best advice that you've been given, and bonus points for how you actually applied it?
The best advice that I've ever been given, I think probably it's don't think too much of yourself.
Okay.
Have some humility. And sometimes that's been very, very hard for me. And it's something that I've really worked on and I'm continuing to work on. It's the main thing in life that I'm really working on is being humble. And when I get that down, I'm going to be perfect, Chris.
Well, yeah.
No, seriously. If you think that you know everything, then you stop. You don't learn.
Okay.
If you know everything, why would you learn?
Right.
I've been selling for well over 50 years, and I still have a sales coach. Okay. I am a sales coach, and I have a sales coach.
You heard that. The sales coach has a sales coach. That's pretty cool.
I listen to him every day. He's got something out online every single day. And after 50 years of experience, he's not so much telling me new things that have never heard or that I've never done or that I don't realize is important, he's reminding me to do the things that I know I should be doing. And so, I think that's really key. Have the humility to listen to other people and learn even more. You're never too old to learn and grow. Never too old to do that. And I'm just middle-aged, by the way. I just had my 76th birthday. So my goal is to die at age 150, shot by a jealous husband. Not because I'm doing anything wrong or messing around, just because I'll be so devastatingly good looking at that they won't be able to stand it. And so now you can see why I have to work on humility.
Love it. All right, Hugh, how can the Roofer Growth family get in touch with you, and how can we support you and encourage you moving forward?
What I would say is the best way to contact me is to go to redcapsalescoaching.com, and you will find all kinds of, you and I talked about the fact that I had a podcast, and all of the podcast stuff is still there that people can listen to absolutely free. And there are some blogs, there are some videos. So there's a lot of stuff on there. And probably the most important thing on that website is that there's a link on every page. And when you click that link, it takes you straight to my calendar. And you can talk with me about your roofing company and your sales, and you can ask questions in the conversation, and the conversation can last for up to an hour. And you'll get some ideas and strategies just from that conversation that you can use in your sales and your marketing right away. And you'll find out whether coaching with me further is a good thing or not. And if you want to, it's okay. If you don't want to, that's okay too. You don't have to invest a dime at all to have that conversation. And there's absolutely no pressure. There's no obligation whatsoever, because I practice what I preach. So I hope that some of you who are listening to this podcast, give me a call and let's just chat, and you'll have a lot of fun. I promise you that. And we may or may not do business, and it doesn't matter. So just arrange a time. Let's talk.
Awesome. Well, Hugh, thank you so much for coming on Roofer Growth Hacks. We really appreciate all the the value bombs that you've dropped here today. It's just awesome. I have tons of pages of notes that I wrote down here, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
Well, Chris, it's been my pleasure, and I'd be glad to come back on anytime, because we've just scratched the surface.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that amazing or what? I know that there were tons of valuable hacks that Hugh shared with us. I wrote down a ton of notes here. My favorites, though, I got to say, well, one, the first one is follow-up. When we talked about follow-up, he talked about customer service calls every 3 months. I think that is ingenious. I think that no roofers out there do that as a customer service call, much less have their salespeople do that. And really, ultimately, the end goal there was to not to so much do that customer service call, but so much in the fact that the end goal there is to get referrals. Okay, because you're providing such great customer service and showing the people that you worked with how great that you actually are and how much you care about them. So I think that's pure gold right there. So roofers, call your past customers every 3 months. Call them, right? The other part, he said, make sure that you're following up on holidays, on any kind of sales that you have. Make sure that you're following up with their birthdays, with Bastille Day. That was interesting. He said that was the biggest one that he got there, right? The biggest feedback that he got was Bastille Day. So anyways, I highly, highly encourage that you do use follow-up. Make sure that you have a good CRM system to help you remember to do that and to remind you that you need to be doing that on a regular basis. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Hugh online or go to his website at redcapsales.com. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hand, I will send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and giggle.